What's up, chillers and thrillers? Welcome to KnoxOut Horror, the pod all about horror and mystery in all forms. And I'm your host, Jay. Continuing from last time, Cooper's girlfriend Tessa also has an encounter with the Grinning Man. This is her side of the story. My boyfriend Cooper and I had just gone on an amazing date. It was still pretty early in the night, so we decided to go to Hellman's Point for quality time, just the two of us. We parked right in front of the lake, giving us the perfect view. It was a little chilly, but we cuddled to make up for it. I was in love with Cooper, and this time with him made me feel like I was in a dream. Little did I know, though, this dream would later turn into a horrible nightmare. About an hour had passed when I noticed that it was 10:38. Unfortunately, I had an 11 o'clock curfew, and needless to say, we had to call it a night. Cooper tried to start the car, but it sputtered, meaning it was out of gas. I was a little worried about missing curfew, but I figured I'd just text my parents that we were having car trouble. I teased at Cooper for not fixing his broken gas gauge, and he did his usual scoff like he always did whenever I would bust his chops. He asked me if I wanted to come with him, but I was tired at that point and in no mood to walk. Besides, it was only a 10-minute walk away. I was certain I'd be fine, plus I had my phone to keep me entertained until he got back. After locking the doors and jokingly telling me not to let anyone in, he left. The night was quiet, outside of the occasional rushes of wind. Without Cooper around, the atmosphere suddenly felt different, like it was somehow darker. I began to feel uneasy and question whether I should have went with Cooper before opening Flipagram on my phone. I surfed through my feed, liking and commenting on a few of my friends' posts. Then I heard it, the sound of something tapping on the roof of the car. It startled me, but I brushed it off as the wind causing a tree branch to hit the roof, and I went back to my app. Preoccupied on my phone, I didn't realize that 45 minutes had passed. Cooper should have been back. Now I was starting to worry. I called his cell phone, but he didn't pick up. At this point, I was in a complete panic. I kept calling and calling. Each time, no answer. I even texted him. Still, nothing. It also didn't help that the tree branch would still periodically tap on the roof. Wanting to put an end to those annoying taps, I got out of the car, and just as I suspected, it was a branch. I broke it off and checked around to see if there were any sign of Cooper, but there was nothing. I was completely alone, and my anxiety was at 100. I got back in the car, locking myself in again. Every other minute, I looked through the rearview mirror, hoping to see Cooper. I had done this a few times before finally, to my relief, I could see his silhouette headed toward the car. I opened the door and yelled out to him, but he didn't respond. As I began to get out of the car once more, I noticed that Cooper was no longer there. I figured he was trying to play a prank on me. I was annoyed, but still a little scared. I begged for him to knock it off. Again, no response, and still no sight of him. I walked around close to the car and called his cell phone, hoping that his ringtone would give away his location. As it rang, I could only hear the burrowing of the wind. I got back in the car and locked the door, my annoyance now absolute terror. At this point, I had a very bad feeling. I was just about to call 911 until I saw a shadow fall across my lap. I looked up to see, not Cooper, but a strange, crazed-looking man. He had a sick, wide smile across his lips, staring at me. He looked like he was in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, but he looked like he had a rough life. There was just something about his face. He didn't look like he'd been drinking, nor did he look high. He just looked absolutely insane. His eyes were open wide, and they had a wild look of bloodlust in them, as if I was his prey. I looked down briefly to call for help. I looked back up to him, now with his face stuck close to the window. He slowly pulled up his right hand, and in it was Cooper's decapitated head. I shut my eyes, screaming in horror, hoping to make the image go away. When I opened my eyes again, the man was still standing there, grinning psychotically. He then slowly lifted his left hand, holding Cooper's keys to the car. Thanks for listening to KnoxOut Horror. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, join my Patreon, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can check out all the links in the show notes. That's all for this episode, and I'll see you guys next time.